Hello? Oh yeah, cook 'em with gas. Hi everyone. How am I? I'm Peachy Keen. I had a big day. Um, I had a lot of different talks about bugs today. Hi everyone. I like this emote with the little cat with the little hands. Oh, I'm excited for bug talk. Bug talk always. I did eat something other than a sweet potato. Tonight I made something called, I don't want to fudge it up. I saved the recipe. Let me look at the name. It was gas. Takikomi Gohan. It's a Japanese mixed rice. With like brown rice and dashi and mirin and shiitake mushrooms and hijiki seaweed. Very good. Big winner was gas. Darkrow went to a butterfly pavilion and have so many pictures. Drop it in Maya's Discord so I can look at them. Jump scare. It's me. Hi Lake. It's kind of a jump scare. Yeah, that's what I made. It is quite good. The Japanese mixed rice, delicious. Hi everyone. Hi Moon. Helen summoned me today. Ooh. 80 exotic species of butterflies. Oh, it's a lumber. It's actually a skipper butterfly in the family Hesperidae. They're their own family of butterflies, and you can tell what's that dude that's like you can tell it's an aspen because of the way that it is. You can tell it's a Hesperid because they have these little hooks on their end of the antennae. You see them? They're like little knobs at the end. It's a butterfly. Yeah. What kind of bug is Reed? A sleepy bug? Man, those crepuscular foxes, those things like only sleep. Oh, slight movement. Yeah, those little curlies at the end, that means it's like a specific butterfly. Yeah. I have to, 1 second. I just Googled what that butterfly was. Darkrow. I'm also so ready for bug hunt. Yeah. Hi. I know that cicadas are good. They're like coming out. People are getting to see them. Am I getting to see them? Of course not, because everyone finds the coolest bugs, and I don't find the coolest bugs. Everyone just shows me pictures. Like when y'all saw a freaking snake fly, and I missed it. The Rhaphidophorid. Nick is cameramanning per usual. They'll drop in soon. I know. I really want to see the periodical cicadas. I want to see them. I deserve it. Did I tell y'all about my coworker who sent a publication about? Well, I can't hear the scream o'clock because I have to mute myself. I can't hear myself, so I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm not allowed to hear myself, so I can't hear the words because it makes it echo. Thanks, Space. Space, you're the best. I thought y'all meant scream o'clock because of cicadas, and I was over here geeking out about cicadas. You couldn't hear me? I was like, oh yeah, I really want to see the periodical cicadas. Scream o'clock, it makes sense. But it was the birds. Rip. We still have like 5 minutes before bug hunt. This is just pre-bug hunt to have fun. Do y'all want to see the biggest ant that's over an inch and a half long? I just put in a link for the biggest ant. It's in the genus Dinopanera, which everyone thinks that the biggest ant is like the bullet ant, but it's actually a different ant, a different genus. They get over an inch long. Those are big suckers. Some people call them forklift ants, right? Hi, Logan. Am I the new staff? No. I'm just a fun friend of Alveus, and I play in the background, and I do bug hunts every week. What? What do you mean? What do you mean, WTF, Allison? No, it's a cool ant. The jumping spider that mimics an ant is so freaking cool. They call these things the forklift ants. I mean, yeah, their faces look like big ass forklifts, so I mean, it makes sense. I want to see the jumping spider. Oh yes, I saw this earlier this week. I saw this in my reels too. Isn't it cool? Thank you for putting that in their space. No, the mimic is super cool. Do you think Dino Panera can get forklift certified for Oh, yes! Casual Ruffian, yes! Same vein of thoughts. I'm sorry, Mick. I didn't mean to scare you. Oop. So one time in Texas, something that looked like a fuzzy bee ant ran out at ran at me out of the ground. What was it? Was it red and black striped lumber? It's two L's. Yeah, so it's actually a wingless wasp. Tortilla is right. They're called cow ants or cow killers. Um, they're actually wingless wasps that have like almost invisible stingers, and I mean they can seriously mess you up. Oh yeah, Helen dropped this one clip of this moth. Super cool. Helen was like, "What's it moving on the top?" I actually think at it that it's like just like wind moving those scales up top that they had really loose scales. Dude, cow killers suck. Tortilla was on it. They are fast. Now the males are smaller and they can't sting, but I would just run away from them no matter what. They'll kick your ass. Here, wait, let me throw a cow killer in here. I'll throw a cow killer in the chat so you can see. They're like fuzzy evil dogs. I believe you. It's not 9 yet. It's not bug hunt yet. I actually think that calculars are on the Schmidt's pain index. So there's this one dude, and he is what I would call creative, um, well spirited, maybe zany would be a really good descriptor of this man. And he let a whole bunch of insects sting him, and then he decided to like rate the stings and how bad they hurt. And I'm trying to see if the cow killer actually made it on there. Oh, but the giant ant in the genus Dinopanera actually made it on there. Yeah, I call a lot of people zany at work. I'm trying to see. Bullet ant was only a pain level 4. Tarantula hawk wasp pain level 4, highest index. I guess the cow killer didn't make it on there. Ooh. Um Dark Crow said there's someone on YouTube who gets stung by everything and has a high pain tolerance. Ew. I mean, uh, different strokes for different folks. I'm not yucking anyone's yum. If you want to get stung by things, live your life, live your truth. Um, but that's a lot. That's a zany character. Today I went on a bug walk around the complex where I live and I found none. They'd done pest control, wiped out basically all the bugs inside the complex. Yeah, that's pretty sad. How bad is pest control on places where people live? Because I think they'll have a surprise and they find, yeah, so it depends. If you have high nicks, if you have pest control that comes out and they use, some sort of broad spectrum insecticide and it's in some sort of formulation where it's like gonna last a while, maybe a few weeks, you'll definitely reduce the kind of insects. But the thing is with residential pest control, the products they put around and inside the building, the bugs actually have to walk on it. So it's actually okay for a lot of flying things like pollinators, like bees and butterflies, because they're not going to fly directly and touch that. Now, the pesticide can move in the environment. Bones irritates the living bejesus out of me. I tried to rewatch that show, and Hodgins' pronunciation of insect families and orders is so bad. It's kind of painful. It hurts. I didn't mean to become that kind of person. But it's painful. But anyways, residential pest control is more so going to kill things that scamper. So like it would be a higher risk to ground beetles, um, cockroaches, millipedes, centipedes. There's also like a lot of predatorial centipedes that they can get. And so pretty much the stuff that people don't want inside. Um, Beechings is okay. I'm just saying, Bones, they just could have asked someone for some help and it would have been so much better. I have actually done some production set work for a few different Netflix movies. I helped with Dune 2, and then I helped with a Netflix movie called Red Notice with like Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. I was a tarantula consultant. And so they had this movie idea and they were like, we really want tarantulas, like we want them to be able to come through the rainforest and like we want this specific cutscene of this tarantula. And so I they contacted me by googling like tarantula in the state and then calling me, and I thought it was spam. It was real, and so I went to the Tyler Perry Studios and I had like 12 tarantulas. And they were like looking at the different species and we were talking about like what's terrestrial, what's arboreal, like what can go up in the trees. um and then so they 3D print this fake tree. I'm going to finish this Red Notice Netflix story before we start Bug Hunt. So they 3D print this fake tree, and there's like the whole entire set is made out of like Lowe's soil bags and like fake tropical plants. And there's this hole in the bottom of this 3D printed tree. And so like the set was Ryan Reynolds and The Rock were going to walk by, they're going to cut a plant leaf, and then a tarantula is going to crawl up the tree. And so I had my meanest tarantula, Ginger. It's the one they wanted. And so I had like a beekeeper's glove that went all the way to my elbow, and I was crouched in this 3D printed tree. And so we had like the PETA person on set checking to see if everything was okay. And so I'm in this hole upside down with my tarantula in my hand, looking at The Rock and Ryan Reynolds come by and trying to like gently push my tarantula up the tree. And we had to do this for like 2 hours. Um, it was like so long. They put in Ryan Reynolds' stunt double. And guess what? They cut the damn scene from the movie. They didn't even use it. And so when the red notice came out, I was like so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, Ginger's famous. She's an actress. They didn't even use it. Spider got paid 2 grand, which means, I got paid 2 grand. Thank you very much, Ginger. Love to be that chaperone. And then in Dune 2, they had this idea that they wanted to have some sort of like big bug fight, right? And so this was like the same group that had worked on Red Notice. They were also working on Dune. And they came out and they were like, well, what can we use? Like, can you think of like the creepiest bug? Like think of the worst bug that would live in a desert. And I was like, what about a solifuge? And so solifuges are like, I can't remember their common name. They're like sun spiders or camel spiders. That's what they're called. And so I sent them some solifuges. Ginger is a G. She lives in my office. And so I just did some consulting work. Okay, end of bug acting lore. I could have helped with bones if I was old enough in that time period. I could have made it better. And now it's time to hunt bugs. I've decided that I want to drop a bug in the chat for like I just want to introduce a fun bug every single time. And today's fun bug is the mantispid. And so the mantispid to me is like Stompy. the mantispid, I put it in the chat. This is like someone went like Aldi shopping for a bug and put everything together at once and tried to make a thing. Yeah, the fuck is that thing? That thing is a spider parasitoid. It looks like a wasp. It looks like a praying mantis. It's neither. It can't sting. It can't bite. It can't even use those raptorial forelegs. It looks scary as fuck because they're trying to like not be messed with. But they're actually spider parasitoids. And so like these are bugs with like very organizational traits. So what it does is it lays eggs in like very neat rows on like the undersides of leaves near spider sacs. And when the larvae hatch, they actually go and attack and eat all the spiders. Speaking of spiders, yeah, mantispids would parasitize the egg sacs of these spiders. But they just look wrong, right? There are tons of parasitoid wasps. Helen actually dropped a parasitoid wasp for me. Helen, do you still have that? I want to show like the extremely thickened antennae. Um, they're really sensitive. It's literally all just left for show, so they get left alone because they're actually really puny bugs. It's okay, Helen. I forgive you. Because Helen's, just watching for fun. It does look AI generated. It does not look real. What's hiding? I see the butt of a bug. I want it to move. Or is it the face? Ooh, thank you, Helen. Okay, so this thing that looks like it's got super like long and chunky antennae is a parasitoid wasp. And so they have those really thick and really sensitive antennae because they're constantly smelling and they're looking for things to like stick their needle like organs in and lay eggs in. I actually don't know what this is underneath the hay. I really need someone to like mess with it. Oh, but that spider might know what it is. Mick is in their echolocation era. Find us some good bugs, man. Get Maya to come. Do y'all remember the bug box, the bug light box? I wonder if we can get a comeback of the bug light box. It worked. And then I was just crying in Discord. Now you can actually hear me cry. So this background, what I'm like talking about constantly, this is just, you're getting a first class pass. Bug hotel for summer bug hunt nights would be so good. And UV lamp would work. A mercury vapor lamp would also work really good. Mini pearl. Hi, Allison. I see my hibiscus tree has 3 praying mantis eggs cases in it. I wonder if there's anything I could do to protect or support serve there. Oh, so there's this really cool thing about mantis oothicas, which is that's what their egg case are called. They're called oothicas. Um, that's like crazy. So some mantis egg cases have to be placed in the exact same cardinal direction that they were laid to survive. And so, like, if Ootheca, so it's like OOTEC. Like, let me spell it. I'll put it in the chat. Um, and so it's like this puffer case of insect eggs, and they're all kind of glued together with like ass spit from the spermatheca, right? They make this like foam that hardens up. It's like that honeycomb candy that you eat. So just think about that next time you. I don't want to talk about the Peppa Pig bug accuracy. That is a hard time in my life. Um, I'm having another ADHD moment. But so if you were to theoretically take, yeah, roaches also do oothecas, but they don't have the insulation foam. They just have that like shellac, like leathery case. And so if you actually, moved a mantis ootheca to try and protect it, you'd have to make sure that it's in the exact same cardinal direction, or else they actually won't be able to hatch. They'll never hatch. I don't blame you, Helen. Helen's talking about an experience where I was on a bug trivia team and we competed academically for prizes to just know random bug knowledge. And I got eviscerated by a question about Peppa Pig asking what insect or arthropod that she was talking about in her show. Who the fuck knows Peppa Pig? It was like 2017. And so I didn't get that question. And Helen's bringing it up just to show the dearth in my knowledge. They'll be okay. Honestly, the mantis oothecas are going to be fine on their own. They're meant to withstand weather, and if there's 3 of them together, then they'll be totally fine, protected. When they all come out, they'll have room to disperse. Yeah, I got owned by Peppa Pig. I don't know if it's the episode that got banned. Is that it? I just remember it was spiders, and I had no clue. Is there anything good? It's like asking what bug Granny was cooking in the Beverly Hillbillies, right? Although I did submit a bug question to the most recent round of insect games, and it's about the Hot Wheels spider, Hot Wheels Sisyphus. I just can't resist. Let's go! Bug hunt! Do you know that glowworms in Australia are actually fly larvae? Like miserable, puny little humpback fly larvae are like really cool glowworms. That kind of messed up my knowledge. I was really excited about that. Hot Wheels Sisyphus, I will talk about Hot Wheels Sisyphus on a daily basis. It is this ground spider that was recently described. It's a new species. It's in the genus Hot Wheels Sisyphus. The males pedipalps their sex organs. So they take their sperm and they pick it up in their sex organs and they transfer it to the female. Sometimes they'll like wrap it up in a nice package. Sometimes they just shove it in, right? This guy's sex hands look like the Hot Wheels track, like the OG Hot Wheels track. I know y'all have a picture of this somewhere because I will never shut up about Hot Wheels Sisyphus. Um, And so that's why I put it as a bug question, right? It's a crazy name. It's so good. Bagel has the pick. The romantic ones do wrap it like a gift. It's called a nuptial gift in entomology. Mantises also offer themselves as nuptial gifts. Male mantises. So you know how like dragonflies can scoop the sperm out of other dragonflies? So like the reason why they stay hitched together in flight during the summer is because males are trying to make sure that no other males come in with their little penis scoopy spoon and scoop the sperm out and put their sperm in instead. And so they'll just like stay hooked up, right? They're just coitus in the air. Um, so mantises will do the same thing. Unfortunately, how they stay connected together is that they just offer themselves as the nuptial gift, and so the female will usually turn around and start eating him. But the thing is insects have brains and gooper scooper. That is what I will be calling it. Um, so mantises and like all other bugs, they have like a whole bunch of brains that go down their body, right? So, if you cut the head off a cockroach, it'll still survive, for a little while. It's the same thing for the mantis. And so the mantis is still pumping sperm into that female, even though his head has been eaten and she's like working down and eating him as he goes. Um, and so that's their strategy of how they keep their sperm. Comment is so good. So I used to keep a whole bunch of exotic mantises in a bug zoo, right? And we used them for a lot of education, and I did a lot of like behavioral work with them. And I needed to make sure that the mantises didn't die. So I used to have like sexy bug time sessions with these mantises, and I would be like a chaperone. I see an ant. It's just a minor ant, not a major. Um, and so I'd have to be a mantis chaperone. And so I would go into the stark room and I'd bring both of the mantises. And I had a ruler. And so I'd put the male like behind the female and like let him sneak up. And then if she looked like she was gonna rip his head off, I just like gently smacked her with a ruler. And she was fine. She was totally happy. And then he just like kept on doing his business. And then they both lived. Yes, I was the hostess of the sexy bug sec of the, sexy bug time, and I got my mantises and they both lived. I thought that the ambiance would be nice, Lumber, if the room was dark. Also, if the room was dark, she wasn't as likely to notice him coming up behind her. So like we would have a cricket, we'd give her a cricket, she'd be eating the cricket, she'd be jamming, right? And then the male, it takes him sometimes like an hour to go to the female to like actually mate. They go that slow because they don't want to disturb her. So he just has to slowly walk up the mesh to get back to her. Yes, it is me. Hi. Manta dominatrix. Spoon away the guy to safety. Yes. We are talking about mantis sex. We're talking about all the different sex organs. I see a spider. And so yeah, so the spiders are ones that will kind of wrap it. They'll wrap the sperm, make a nice little package, give the ladies the package, and if she likes it, she'll take it, and either he can put it there or she can put it there. Um, Mantises, you have to trick them, or else the man he'll become the gift. Mick hates that spider, yeah, because that's the only thing that we found so far. Yes, I used to dedicate like 3 to 5 hours a week to mantis sex, and it would just be the time, and I'd sit there with a ruler and watch him, and you have to be completely quiet. You can't have any music or any sound or anything. You just have to sit there and concentrate in a dark room. A voyeur. We need new bugs. It's just the seasonality. There's things coming out, but also, something to say is like there's always going to be generally the same profile of insects during the day. So like in Animal Crossing, how like some things only come out at certain times. It's the same thing in nature. So, a lot of the times we're gonna get ground beetles, scorpions, ants, millipedes, centipedes, a lot of predators, like different wasps, maybe different moths. But like the really showy, pretty stuff, like bees and butterflies, we probably won't ever see them if we're doing them at night, right? I'm excited for the scorpions to appear. That's going to be during maybe like a couple months down the line, closer to like August. We'll get some killer stuff. Animal Crossing is wildly accurate about the insects they have, the descriptions of their lifestyle, the seasonality that they come out. I mean, doing real work, Animal Crossing. If we switched out one of the um lamps outside the pasture for like a mercury vapor bulb, I bet you we get like a shit ton of moths around that. Can you give me some facts about the larvae I found in my kitchen? Oh, the lacewing larvae? Okay, so Honeybee put a picture of a lacewing larvae that they found on a cup in their kitchen. And so lacewings are actually really cool. They look almost like a relative of the mantispid and the snake fly and the Dobson fly. So they're in this family called Neuroptera, right? I'm trying to find a picture. Um, and they're really cool beneficial insects. So they're a great indicator of like quality around. Here is a lacewing larvae. Um, and so the way I remember Chrysopody is it looks like lace and it's just about it's a bad memorization. I'm not going to go through it. Um, but these, are beneficial insects. They eat a ton in their immature stage. So they're just like lady beetle larvae, but better in my opinion. And my favorite lacewing covers themselves in trash to try and hide themselves. Has anyone ever seen The Labyrinth? And there's that lady that's like covered in trash that has all the junk on her? No? Is this a very niche thing I'm trying to talk about? Oh yeah, here we go. Yes, it's in the stinky place. So I'm trying not to niche. I put an image of what they do. So these lacewing larvae will actually cover themselves in trash and just pretend you don't see them and then try and go eat all of the other bugs. Isn't it kind of cute? It's like a little trash baby. Come on, we got to find a good bug. I have hope for us today. There's a fly. What bugs like broccoli, moths, freaking caterpillars will tear up some broccoli. We found a fly. Hey, I mean, flies can be kind of cool. Like the glowworms in Australia are fly larvae, humpback fly larvae, which is kind of cool. Like the maggots glow blue. I mean, they can be kind of scary because they're jumping. I get that. I totally get that. Do y'all want to hear a really disturbing story about a horrible fly that we have eradicated in the United States? This looks like a little beetle. I think we got a little beetle friend. Okay, let me tell you all the story of Cochleamia homnivorax, the New World screwworm. The New World screwworm participate in a little biological function we like to call meiosis, which is I'm doing like the Debbie Ryan ear thing, right? We got a little isopod. Maybe we can get it to zoom in. I will go on. So Cochleamia homnivorax, Debbie Ryan ear thing. They enact in a thing called meiosis, which is yes, Radio Rebel Debbie. And so what they do is they eat living flesh. The flesh has to be on something that is alive. And so these flies, precious little thing. I don't know if it's a it might. I still think it's a beetle, even though it's grainy. Beetles can have wings. I think it's like a tiny little beetle in like the family Tenebrioniid, um, like the tiny worm beetles. That would make sense because, mealworms like to eat all of, like, the different forage and poop and, like, the different cow pellets. Um, anyways, I wanna finish my New World Screw-'em story. So they were irradiated in the US with X-rays. So the males were actually sterilized with a whole bunch of X-rays, and they were to go out to mate with the females, and when they mated with the females, they didn't have successful offspring, right? They didn't live. That's because these flies used to like to live in people's eye sockets and in their gums with their teeth. And so people were complaining because not only did they get into the eye sockets and the gums of animals, they also did it to people. Um, yes, and so they make huge nasty holes. Yes, they do. Um, and so they're irradiated in the US all the way down to the Panama Canal because of that. And so Mad Charlie Kelly said, I've been meaning to ask, what would happen if we eradicated all ticks? A lot of things actually eat ticks, snakes, lizards, possums. They could survive on other bugs. There's enough other things that they could get into that niche, and ticks are really ectoparasites of us and don't really serve an ecological benefit other than being that blood meal source. And so maybe more so than mosquitoes. We were talking about New World screwworms, Cochleamia homnivorax. I remember I wanted to talk about them today because the students have a medical entomology test, and that is a test question that they have to know. Don't look at the images of the New World screwworm. Just don't Google it. Just take my story. Um, Look at this gorgeous major ant. This is a major ant and not a minor ant. Yeah, I don't know. So everyone always asks me like, would we live if mosquitoes were dead? But mosquitoes are actually like hardcore pollinators. The males are, and there's also like predatorial mosquitoes, and they feed all small fish and minnows that go up the food chain. And so I don't really think we could lose them. If things ate ticks, then what eats bedbugs or lice? Pretty much nothing. So bed bugs and lice have grown and evolved to be completely dependent on us. And so they don't really have predators because the way they survive is just like a parasite or just like the flu, right? So they travel on us, or there are other lice that are on like chickens, um, different sort of fowl, and there's not really something that eats those lice. The difference between major and minor, Phoenix, that is funny. Um, so there are major ants, which are like these bigger, more like middle manager level ants that delegate tasks. And then there are minor ants that actually get the work done. And so the major ants, they're much bigger, right? They look like the typical ant. And then the minor ants look almost like the little sugar ants that you see. And the little ones are doing all the work. And the major ants are supposed to act like secret service kind of bodyguards that protect the ants and also kind of guide them in the right way. Don't look at the worm. I just wanted to talk about the worm. Don't look at the worm. It's a really cool story of irradiation. Now this is a tenebrionid. Thank goodness. For a good beetle. We just got a good beetle. I'm trying to look at the head to see if it's a tenebrionid or yeah. So this is a darkling beetle. Um, don't look at the worm. I said don't look at the worm. um, these darkling beetles, hot beetle action. Um, chickens eat a lot of these, and these are a really big problem in poultry houses because there can become like so many of them that the chickens eat all of these bugs and then they don't eat food that has nutritional value because these beetles are like low energy, low health. Can you tell I've been playing Stardew Valley? They like offer very little nutritional value and just like a smidge of protein. And so chickens will like fill up on these and then they won't eat their nutritional diet and then they will come deficient and won't be able to lay eggs. I just started playing Stardew Valley 2 days ago. I'm very overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on. Don't look, I'm not telling anyone the name of the worm. If you can spell Cochleomia homnivorax, then you can look it up, but don't do it. Yeah, they're a big problem. Someone said that they're a problem where they're at. I mean, they're still around the world, right? And they're a really big problem with like deer and livestock. So a couple years ago, um, we have a team that monitors for this screwworm, and a team found some in a deer, so they had to like restart their project over and over again. I'm really enjoying. Okay, lazy goose. Spelling bee winner. Lumber, I'm not telling you. Don't look at the worm. It's fine. I had to give my creepy worm story. Oh, let's talk about something fun. Uh, okay, there's one thing I want to talk about, and it's and my students, we do it in like a school project. So like I'll take he pooped? Did their eradication affect wildlife in a negative way? Not really. That's why I say, we can handle different losses of tropes. Like we can lose different things. We just can't lose everything. It's the worm itself isn't the bad part. It's what it does. So it has to live in living flesh. And it has to eat living flesh and it has to get into like soft spots. And so it really goes into like your eye sockets and different things. I want a big beetle too. I'm actually rearing out some Dynasties Hercules beetles, and I feed them maple syrup and rotting wood, and they're really happy. But see, mosquitoes are like really good pollinators. And yes, there are a lot of mosquitoes that are bad. They transmit a lot of diseases, but I think the mosquito larvae portion, feeding a whole bunch of small fish and also other predatorial mosquitoes, I think losing all mosquitoes would have a serious effect on our trophic levels, like our aquatic life. Deer flies are also horrible. Yes. Is this the same darkling beetle, but is this a different one? They Okay, so the females have to have our blood to lay eggs, right? But the males actually don't bite and they go for pollen and they feed off of nectar. And so they're actually really good pollinators. It's just the females that are a 2-for-1 special on the darkling beetles. When These beetles will like actually like live in groups too, right? So, have you ever bought like a cup of mealworms from like PetSmart to feed your lizard? Or I have a 15-year-old leopard gecko, so I go to PetSmart and I buy my mealworms. These are the same thing. Do you get to see the big chunky bumblebee? They're so bumblebee butts are just the cutest things ever. I raise you something cuter. I raise you bees in the genus Peponapsis. So these are called squash bees. And I'm going to look up a picture of them. And they are a solitary pollinator that only pollinates cucurbits. So if you've ever had a pumpkin, a zucchini, a squash, it was most likely pollinated by one of these bees. And they sleep in the flowers at nighttime, and they're really cute. They sleep in the flowers like little fairies in the garden. The surprise beetles were a shock. Yeah, so if they're not super worms, if they're regular mealworms, they will turn into beetles. Thank your local. I love solitary bees. I teach a lot of solitary bee classes. They're actually more effective than honeybees and imported pollinators. So, solitary bees can actually visit like up to 5 miles worth in like distance between flowers a day. And they can visit so many more flowers than like a traditional honeybee can. Sorry, honeybee. Oh, who do we have here? A little isopod? Oh, I totally forgot. I got into this huge rant about Fallout today. So, the spoilers, there's like a cockroach the size of a German shepherd, right? And everyone keeps saying like cockroaches are going to outlive us all. They're going to outlive the humans. They can survive the apocalypse. They can yeah, they can survive the radiation. um there's been a lot of research into that. People look into it and see if it's actually real. So there's two things I have beef with. One is that cockroaches aren't really good at surviving radiation. Who is better at surviving radiation? Isopods. So, like the wood lice, the pill bugs, they're actually much better at surviving radiation. So like cockroaches and isopods, like exposed to the same level of radiation that would kill something a month later. The cockroaches died instantly, and the isopods lived for a month longer. And that's because isopods, like pill bugs, they can actually accumulate like heavy metals in their body and survive for like a long time. Um, and so my two beef with the rad roaches, one is that it'd have to be like a super high oxygen environment, because the bigger you get, they don't their lungs don't get any bigger. Your isopods could outlive you. They could outlive us. Isopods will live. They're the OG radiator survivors, not cockroaches. And two, think about carrying all of your bones on the outside of your body, and the bigger you get, the harder that is to carry. And so they actually wouldn't be strong enough to carry those exoskeletons. They would be so heavy, they wouldn't be able to move. Um, and so, anyways, yes, sorry, this is bug hunt time. We're bug hunting. Anyways, that's my beef with the rad roaches, is that they couldn't really work, right? They couldn't really work. What is this emote with this with why does the people frog have a joint? Anyways, isopods for radiation, isopods for the apocalypse. They should have made giant isopods, giant roly polioles, and it would have been more accurate. Addiction. Someone just got smoked and rolled. Thanks, Mick, for doing like the good mod things. Yeah, a giant Marty party would be more accurate. Anyways, although the new Fallout is really good. Oh, and so oh yeah, marine isopods, that's another thing. So you know how shrimp is bugs, right? Um, Other arthropods like crabs are related to bugs. The reason that they can be so big nowadays is because the ocean water is actually supporting them, right? They don't have the weight and pressure of movement. Look at all these fun bugs. Shrimps is bugs. It is true. It is accepted. They look like teeny tiny little flies. I'm trying to see. They almost look like maybe like phorid, like fungus gnats, and that's definitely true. If there is feed in these um in these trash cans, sorry, brain doesn't work, then they're definitely some sort of like fungus gnat. I've never held a marine isopod. I would very much like to. Imagine one day we see a bug being followed by another bug carrying a camera doing their own live strip. Crawfish are mud bugs. Crawfish are arthropods. How sensitive are shrimp bugs to pesticides and agricultural runoff? Very. Um, Aquatic organisms like, you know, frogs, fish, invertebrates are really sensitive to pesticides, but they're most sensitive to herbicides. And so herbicides are actually the most commonly applied thing in the landscape nowadays. There's actually not as much insecticide being put out, and it's a lot of herbicide. How many people do you know? Harvestmen! Um, Look at this big Opiliones. And so the reason that they stick their second set of legs out instead of their first, you see how they have like their first set of legs in the ground and then he's got those two out further? It's because those are actually their sensing organs. The reason they're a whole bunch longer is because they use those like antennae. Anyways, sorry, I'm back on my herbicide rant. That's my soapbox I sit on. Um, how many people know someone that gets like lawn care done or has professional lawn care and the herbicides and fertilizers that are being put out, they're really harmful to aquatic invertebrates and aquatic in general. My cigarette beetles fight is going well. Yay! I'm so glad. I've seen those videos about a parasitic isopod that lives in shrimp gills. I've seen those videos before, like how they remove them. I don't know much about them. I know about a lot of other insect type, parasitoids. Um, I'm assuming they're working about the same. Yeah, their first set is for like walking, and then their second set is for like sniffing and smelling. Lawns are bad. Lawns are evil. My entire job is based around teaching people to use things other than pesticides. I went and gave a talk at fancy botanical gardens, and I had all these like staff and folks there, and I told them that frogs wouldn't exist in our like next children's generation, and they were so upset. Um, but it's true. The more that we rely on herbicides and fertilizers that are really highly toxic to aquatic invertebrates and vertebrates, the more likely we're going to see less of those things, right? Lawns are cringe. I have a personal vendetta against golf courses and lawns. Lawns kill shrimp, lawns kill bugs. I went to a presentation about invasive plants last week. It's sad that herbicides, they are finding a lot of biological ways to control invasive plants. Do y'all know those aquatic moths that I rant about a lot of the time? How there are moths that actually like swim into the water? They're actually used as biocontrol because what they do is they lay their eggs in invasive aquatic weeds, and then the bugs grow up and they eat the weeds, and then the weeds die. Turns the frog. I don't know if it turns the frogs gay, but it definitely kills them. We've had a slow bug night. I've been ranting about herbicides for the past like 5 minutes. If you want to get in the hate pesticide world, we're hating on golf courses. Ooh, well, like here's another Tenebrionid guy. I take it back. We've got a new beetle. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a new beetle. We've got a new beetle. We've got a winner. This is an elaterid or a click beetle. And so these beetles, if they get on their back, they actually click and like pop their body like a pop top to get back up. It could be like a fake click beetle, but we're gonna say click beetle. New beetle unlocked. Click beetle. So this is in the family Elateridae. And so yeah, they've got this really cool thing. So like if they get stuck on their back, you know how like turtles get stuck on their back and they're really sad, or you see the sad videos of the poor bugs that get stuck. These guys don't get stuck because they're like those like tiddly bits or like the hoppers. They can make themselves pop and get back up. I'm actually pretty sure Helen is keeping a list of all of the things that we collect in our Pokemon Pokédex. There are some close relatives to the click beetle that grow, but those are like phenagogids. Allison, what would be the ideal bug setup to maximize bug finds? Is there a light outside of the pasture that like turns on or off? Because if we could switch out the light bulb with like a mercury vapor bulb, we'd catch a lot of bugs. Um, if we did that, what else could we do? We could also, plant some bug hotels. So, like, if we had like maybe some cinder blocks on the ground that we like stuffed with pine cones and hay and reeds, and maybe you put like a few like pellets of food in there, you could definitely farm bugs that way. There are no lights. Ugh. If there was a place that we could get a mercury vapor bulb, it would be like black lighting all the time, right? And we'd have a serious like honey pot of bugs we'd get to. Um, Lazy Goose, I had a question for you. I have a terrarium with isopods and a little snail spawned. She's not at risk of being eaten by the isopods, but the snail can be a risk to your isopods. They can multiply a lot and they can actually become a terror to your isopods living in your tank. So I kind of watch out. Biocontrol in greenhouses is so freaking cool. Yeah, some sort of either like a bug hotel or anywhere we could get some sort of like light that emits either like a UV light, or a mercury vapor bulb is like the OG for entomologists, right? Because it emits heat and it's also really bright. Um, and so that would be like a really good one. Oh, that's a really good idea, Bubbles. Like a list of insects native to Texas and just check them off as we see. Well, we'd have this click beetle down. We'd have like the giant wood lice down. Wish list. Pokedex! Omnis capiendi sunt. There are these really invasive snails called apple snails, which are causing a really huge problem in agriculture, and they're like multiplying like crazy. Something to look into and watch out for. Bug hunt bingo. Texas does have fireflies, and they also have a chance of a tarantula. We could have a chance of both. The Phonopelma is like my favorite genus of tarantulas, and I think they actually get out that far. Good. We don't want you to reproduce apple snails. We're starting a Bugadex. It's happening. I was trying to see what click beetles eat because I didn't know. They'll eat other insects. Texas does have a ton of native bug species. It's insane. I don't know about the wish list. That's a Maya thing. Are we gonna keep following around this click beetle? There are a lot of bugs that have bioluminescence. So a lot of them are usually like larvae. So like there are fly larvae. There are also these things called glowworms that are phenogogid larvae. One of my coworkers actually proposed in a glowworm cave in the southeast. It's like really romantic for entomologists. Can pond snails found it? No, do not release pond snails in the wild. We don't take anything that we raised indoors and put them outside. One, because they don't know how to survive. And so, pretty much taking them outside would be their ultimate death. And two, if they did perchance survive, they could overtake everything and become invasive, right? So, a lot of the work I do deals with invasive species, and a lot of those stuff were released as pets. There are these lizards. Does anyone have a tegu? Anyone know what a tegu is? It's like a lizard the size of a chihuahua that like a 40-year-old man has to wrestle to the ground. Um, Tegus are highly invasive. They're massive and they just eat everything. Um, And so like pets like these are stuff that we really don't need. And same thing if people raise bugs. So like I have a lot of folks who will raise like butterflies and they'll do butterfly releases, right? Or people will raise monarchs indoors and then release them outdoors as like a feel good project. But the risk with rearing anything captive and indoors is one, they've never experienced outside, so they don't know what outside is like, and they don't know how to survive outside, right? They don't know how to survive in those conditions. And two, they may be really vulnerable to different things. So there's a parasite that kills monarch butterflies, and it lives on the outside of adults. If you've raised a monarch inside and it's never seen the world, that thing going outside, it's getting yeeted, right? Like nature is gonna hit it hard. Um, so it's all in good fun, good intention, but it may not be the best in the long run. 7th grade Monarch project was a really good feel good. This harvestman is looking for some snacks, so hardcore. Do you see him though using those second legs to actually like feel around and taste? Um, Hi Ella, I'm Allison. I am an entomologist and I talk about bugs every Wednesday. Um, And so the harvestman is like trying to see what activities like going around and like what is near him. He's trying to taste these little flies. Do insects actually have to learn skills? There are a lot of instinctual skills, but what do you think would happen if you were raised in a lab where you were like continually provided food and water in a perfect habitat? You wouldn't learn like where to go hide, you wouldn't learn where to go eat. And then so, once you're out in the world, it's like this is another good Fallout thing, right? So Lucy McLean is coming out of Vault 33 and she's experiencing the world. It's the same thing that we do to bugs when we raise them inside. Spotted lanternflies are my number one op. I am the fight against spotted lanternflies. I have a dream that I'm going to discover them where they are. I work with a lot of great producers, and they're actually they're bad. So they are naturally on this plant that we keep on the sides of roads. It's called tree of heaven. And it's just like a weedy plant, and they'll eat that, but they also eat like plums, fruits, nectarines, peaches, grapes, all of the stuff that I help farmers produce. And it's not known whether they can like spread diseases or not. So they kind of suck. They're really pretty, but spotted lanternflies, number one op. And I'm sorry about your monarchs, Tortilla. That is a common thing. Mosquito abatements are really harsh for a lot of other insects. Who wins in a fight, ant versus harvestman? Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, Honestly, probably ant because the Apiliones, they're not fighters, they're lovers, they're raw eaters. And so harvestmen, they're just like little trash pandas that eat trash, and they pretend that they're big and bad, but an ant could probably do enough damage biting and, bringing in other predators to take down the harvestmen eventually. I was reading about biologists having to hunt, capture, and euthanize Burmese pythons. Yeah, have y'all seen that dude that like is looking for the 20-footer on Instagram? Now look at this, sweetie. We've got another tenebrion. This is another one of those darkling beetles. What's my favorite bug Pokemon? Ooh. Oh, look, we got a little isopod. The rad isopods would survive. Um, I don't know about my favorite bug Pokemon. There's so many. Um, what's the Beedrill? Is that the one? It's like kind of basic. Tenebrionidae, yes. So these are like the mealworms. These are the adult version of the mealworms that you would feed your lizard. Spotted lanternfly is a baller name. They suck ass. Um, do you know how they're like transported the most? Is on cars. So spotted lanternflies lay their eggs in like these masses, and they'll have that kind of same stuff that protects them, like the mantis. Um, and they lay them like underneath your bumper, and so you can bring them state to state, and you wouldn't even know. What's the largest bug that I could keep and walk it on a leash? So in traditional Mexican culture, there's actually this belief that like there was this story, and I don't want to fudge up the story, so I'm going to synopsis it because I don't remember all the details. But basically, this guy's partner believed like if she had a beetle close to her heart, it meant like her love was close to her heart, and they actually wore jeweled and decorative beetles on small chains. Um, Thanks, Leonardo DiCappuccino, for your donation. Um, and so they'd actually wear beetles on, like, small chains on their brooches, and the beetles would eventually die. It's kinda sad, right? But there are these really decorative, that beetles on chains, and I'm trying to find some pictures. It's called the Mexican macaque beetle, or macaque. Look at how badass these are. Um And so these were worn as living jewelry back in the day, but they were live, and they actually kept them on these little chains. Bubbles, I remember as a kid, hardware stores sold containers of bugs that you can release in your garden. I wonder if they were like lady beetles or something, right? Um, a lot of people are, starting to do like undercarriage rinsing at like a lot of truck stops. So like trucks are one of the ways that invasive insects actually get moved from place to place, and so they're actually in doing a lot of, like, undercarriage washing for those trucks. I don't know if the Mayans did beetle earrings, but potentially. Besides mantises, are there any other bugs you spank with rulers in your research? Yes, actually. I used to rear these things called unicorn katydids, and they're the most evil bug I've ever experienced in my life. They will draw blood, they will bite you, they don't have a care in the world. Um, they are maybe the most evil insect I've ever dealt with. Cute. They have unicorn horns. Fucking evil because 'cause they'll bite you and draw your blood. They're like the macaws of the insect world. What's the difference between Asian lady beetles versus ladybugs? They are one and the same, but there are so many different species of ladybugs that the Asian lady beetle is just them. It's just a lot of language, sorry. They're evil. Any mantis, you'd be scared they might hit back. Yes. There are these things called unicorn katydid, yeah. let me put this in the chat. I'll look up my bugs. Here we go. Here's the unicorn katydid. These guys are evil. Horrible. Worst bugs I've ever worked with. Um, what was I talking about? I got distracted. I have heavy ADHD moments. Oh, the mantises I'd be afraid of. So I used to do a lot of work with these. Let me look them up before I talk about them. I need to show everyone a picture. Um, I used to work with these things called idolamantids. Um, and they're like the boss version of a mantis. These katydid, unicorn katydids are evil because they're really aggressive and they bite a lot. Um, And so you have to feed them like fresh lettuce and give them enrichment or else they get kind of evil. And so I used to go in with like the tiny heads of iceberg and they would come in and like start biting at my hands. So I had to wear really heavy rubber gloves. Look at this harvestman. He's feeling around. And then the other one I put in, the Idola mantis, the devil's flower mantis, they were really if you could get them to cooperate, they were really sweet, but honestly, low key bully kind of a mantis. He looks like he's just vibing. It's a strategy. Um, and so it's what he's trying to do is like suss out the situation. He's dancing, but he's also trying to suss out and see what's in front of him. Um, and also not getting eaten makes him harder to catch. Yeah, it's like one of the similar strategy like the American woodcock has. What's this? Where'd it go? Oh, y'all have Indian meal moths, FYI, in your stored grain. Watch out for your stored grain. Those are meal moths. I have worked with orchid mantises. I've worked with 12 or 13 species of mantises. Would getting a car wash before taking a long road trip? Yes. Getting your car washed before taking a long road trip would be a really good way to reduce the spread of a ton of invasive insects and native insects. So you know how like the the Forest Service says, like, don't bring wood from other places because like, beetles can be in them. This is the same thing. So, like, Joro spider eggs, we don't wanna bring those, and spotted lanternflies. This is a really good idea if you could do it. It's a smart idea, do it if you can. Do you have recommendations for flowers that bumblebees can go into and have butt poking out? Yes. If you have, like, petunias, they're not native, but that would be a really good common one that you could get. Um Anything that has, like, a cone-shaped flower, nasturtiums are a really good beneficial flower in your garden, and they're actually edible. You could eat the leaves and the flowers, and when the bees go in, their tiny little butts stick out. Yeah, parallax is right. That's a really good idea, honestly, just recommending that you wash your car before you travel. What animals go after stick bugs? Mostly birds, but stick bugs have evolved to spray some, like, serious like, hazard, almost allergenic chemicals, and so I used to work with, I've worked with a lot of stick bugs, but, the ones that don't look crazy have some serious chemical sprays in them. I actually learned I'm allergic to stick bugs. I got sprayed in the face with some stick bugs, and half of my face swelled up. Um, I did put photos of me bullying bees. Carpenter bees, they're a big time pest of, like, different structures, and, the males can't sting you, so usually when I go on a bug walk, I'll just, like, pick up a male or 2 just because I can, and I'll kinda take them around and then put them back. Nasturtium will stay forever. Uh-oh, 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 the male bees can't sting you. Mick said it's time. It's time. Chat, it's time. I'm sorry. It's 10 PM. It's time for me to go. Mick is busy. Mick's got a lot on their plate. Okay, so I think positives from tonight, we saw a click beetle, big win. Um, thank you so much. It's a cricket! Grillities! It's an adult cricket. It's a female cricket. Y'all see that really long thing on the back? She actually pokes her little, reproductive organs, into the soil and lays eggs deep in the dirt. Could you type out the plant? Oh, to nasturtium. Thank you all so much for joining in and playing. Mick has to go, which means chat chats is over. It is considered ovipositor still, yes. And so they can have ovipositors just like wasps can have ovipositors. Thanks, everyone. Male bees have white noses like clowns. I'll drop a pic in the chat. Honey, I'll put a pic in Maya's Discord of a male bee. Thank y'all so much. I'm gonna end the voice from beyond, so the Wizard of Oz moment is over. Have a great night, y'all.